Hello, everybody, and welcome to this edition of On the Ice, brought to you by Pembina Source for Sports and Caisse Financial Group. On today's episode, we're going to head just a little bit east, the same time zone. We're going to talk to the general manager and president of the Dryden Ice Dogs, Mr. Mike Sveinson, and we're going to discuss about what he's been up to this offseason, preparing for a bit of an introduction and a new way of starting this season, this upcoming 2020-21 season. We'll take a quick look back at how the season last year ended, the acquisitions during the summer, and the preparations that are going to be taking place here at the end of August and into September for the beginning of the SIJHL season. So today on the ice, please welcome Mike, the team president and general manager of the Dryden Ice Dogs. Joining me as promised, Mike Sveinson. I hope I said your last name right, Mike. Did I?
Yeah, you got it.
Perfect. My last name gets butchered all the time, so I'm just going to be happy that I said yours correctly. Tell us a little bit about, Mike, your role with the Ice Dogs, how long you've been with the team, and a little bit of what's been a bit of the history of the team thus far in the SI.
Okay, so we are the charter member of our league. We've been in the league for 20 years. From day one, and that makes us the only team that has been here throughout from year 1 to year 20. My role with our team is I'm the team president. So it's a volunteer position with our team. I don't get paid for it, and that's part of the nature of our operation. We're a community-owned team, so the community owns our franchise. And over the years, that's a format that I've really tried to protect. I think it brings a large element of community engagement, and volunteerism being the root of it kind of gets people active in the community and with the franchise, and everybody has a sense of ownership. So that's been a key to our success, I believe.
That's a very interesting relationship that you bring up, because usually, teams like this, especially in junior hockey, they're owned by a group of people. It's run for that interest as well as within the community. How does that work, or how has that worked in the last 20 years being the charter member of the SI, and why do you feel that's such an important position to hold within a junior hockey program?
Well, I mean, it's simply, for me, it has to do with the philosophy that people are a more valuable asset than money. So we've always we talk about that in our front office and in our locker room, and that's kind of one of the mottos of our franchise. So when if we had if we'd won the lottery and had a $1 million budget every year, there would still be a need for people, but less people, right? Because we've already raised the money we require. So in order to get the funds that we need to run the team, we have fundraising, and we have sponsorship, and we have initiatives throughout the community that require members of the community to step up and be involved. So we have a large board. We have, in this capacity, we have one of the larger staffs in our league with about 50 people working for the team. We simply couldn't afford to pay all those people in a private ownership model. So, I mean, in terms of the engagement in the team at the grassroots level, this is the format that I believe in firmly.
That's an amazing role to hold, and like you said, it gives a sense of ownership and pride to a community. We see it at the professional level in one team only, and that's the Green Bay Packers. So you're not too far from Green Bay, just a little hump skip across the border, but it's a great position to hold, and I think that's pretty valuable, Mike, and how you mentioned it. Congratulations on holding it. The end of the last season, I mean, we all remember the beginning of March, that second week of March, going into it. How difficult was it to postpone games, and how was the team able to handle that immediate stress of what to do and how to handle it the best way for the safety in mind for the players, the organization, and the league?
When you ask me the question, it brings back memory of that time. And one of the things that I took away from that time, and I remember now, and I guess it will stick with me, is the dignity that our 20-year-olds handled the situation with. I was mad. I was upset that this is what our season had come down to, and we had a very slim understanding of the medical situation we were facing. All we knew was that it had to end, and we did the best we could to give a proper send off to our 20-year-olds at that time. But what would normally have been a year-end banquet and hopefully celebrating a championship or a deep playoff run and having the proper farewell to these guys, we weren't able to do anything like that. And to their credit, they handled that extraordinarily well. And for the rest of us, I mean, that was, if you look back at that time, that was probably the easiest decision that we've made since then, because it was just pushed to the forefront. The day that it all came to a halt, I wasn't with the team. I was in Thunder Bay at the time because my son, who was playing AA hockey, was in a tournament, and we had played our first game, and then at the dinner for that we had with the team, I got a phone call saying we needed to have an emergency board meeting of the SIJHL Board of Governors, and everybody knew what that was. And I knew that when I left, they would soon get the word that the kids had been canceled too. And sure enough, within an hour, the hockey world, just like the rest of the world, had ground to a halt. So it was a surreal time.
No, I remember it well. I remember everything shutting down, and yes, it was, probably like you said, one of the easier decisions to make, but without understanding why. Comment on talking to the players that were aging out, seeing them play their last game in an Ice Dogs jersey, the emotion that was felt by those players.
Well, one of the things another thing we preach around here too is belief, and we try to bring positivity to these playoff runs. And the team, in my opinion, was starting to really, really buy into that. So it's a struggle every year when you have 18 to 20-year-old kids. You're trying to bring them through a season, have them peak at the right time, and push them through to a playoff run. These guys were there, and in terms of, I guess a lot of them just see. I'm sure that a lot of them we recruit from all over North America too, right? It's the small percentage of them are local. So you have a lot of kids here in Dryden or in all over the hockey world who've got parents back home who are saying, "Hey, we want you home." So whether or not those kids would have gone just by mom and dad's request, or if when the government says it's over and mom and dad want them home, that makes it easier for them to go, that was a factor as well.
We'll comment on the roster a little bit later, but I did look it over, and you have players from like Ontario, Alberta, Manitoba, Missouri, I believe I saw, Mississippi, California. There's a player from California, one of your defensemen's out there. Will the roster, the offseason, obviously, for gathering new players and figuring out all the guidelines and restrictions that have been going on, Mike, how has the team been able to get the information from its prospective health boards and then utilize that as the league to make sure that we're able to function and move forward, potentially seeing a season this year?
So it's a partnership, and again, what I've been saying a lot lately is that hockey is going to rely on the efficacy of its leadership to advocate for the path forward, because these public health offices and politicians have every industry at their fingertips, and they're trying to show the path forward for every industry. So they require leadership in hockey to advocate for a new path. So we've been talking to these people about what we need to have as a bare minimum to play, specifically with attendance. We cannot do it with to empty arenas. That just doesn't work in our financial model, and I'm not sure there's many junior teams or leagues in Canada or the United States that would operate that way. So for us, it's saying here's the bare minimum that we can get by on, and then we need to hear back from them about how that can or will look. And what we've done in the interim is we have pushed the prospective puck drop date to the middle of November, and then we've said that we're going to run these NCAA style camps in the interim. So that if you know how in the NCAA, for example, these kids might arrive at campus in August, September, but not play until November. And that's kind of similar to what we're talking about. So we would run long development camps while we await for public health authorities to finalize our plans to get back on the ice.
So that'll give you a chance to operate as a team. Obviously, quarantine players for a little bit of time to make sure that they are within their own quote-unquote bubble, I guess, and then have that team condition and develop as a group, ready for play whenever that is, like you said, in November.
Precisely, yeah. The quarantine aspect, right? We at this point cannot have American players, but if that changes, we will. We always recruit well in all of North America, not just Canada, but in Canada alone, we have players from all over. It's a little more localized this year, and the camp is going to be smaller. We don't have the, normally we try and shoot for 50, 100 people at camp, so there's a large pool to select from, but we're not trying for that this year because we're trying to work within the current restrictions that we have from the government.
Absolutely. Mike, we're going to take a quick break. We'll be right back. We're going to talk about some of those acquisitions that we have in the summertime, as well as some upcoming, like you said, you mentioned the camps. We'll get those dates and a little bit of fun because a lot of hockey players know how to play golf as well. We'll be right back here on the ice.
Are you looking for a career in the salon industry? Check out Aveda Institute Winnipeg in the Exchange. What sets us apart is our student mentorship program, 95% placement rate after graduation, real-world salon experience, and network of 7,000 salons and spas. You will learn creative cut and coloring, latest trends and techniques, social media marketing, fashion shows, photo shoots, and more. Now accepting applications for 2018, so check us out and book your tour today. Aveda Institute Winnipeg. Hair school the way it should be.
We're going to get Mike back here. There he is. Just before the break, we talked about the development style camps that the NCAA runs, and that's something that you will run as a model for this fall. The coaching staff, are they looking forward to this different style of model and this maybe this prolonged camp that they could be running in the fall?
Our coaches are looking forward to hockey, however that looks. It has been uncertain for months whether or not we would be back on the ice. It's starting to look like we will be. We're just trying to expand exactly what that looks like. So these guys are great, and they just want to get back on the ice and get back in the game and helping players develop.
Tell me a little bit about how your recruiting process works in Dryden. Mike, I know this year you weren't as much involved, but in recent years, like you said, you've got players coming from all over North America. You dip into the Winnipeg High School Hockey League this year, picking up Cody Larenko. You go into the CSSHL and you grab Cale Hancock, no relation to Herbie Hancock, I'm sure, from the Okanagan Hockey Academy. And then you go grab a pair of stilts, 6'7" Max Rapp out of just outside of Toronto. I mean, all these players, have a certain skill set that you're looking for. How are you able to review these potential players and these acquisitions in the offseason?
Well, in the last, I would say specifically in the last 5 years, players have become better at either working with people who can help them with video, or else simply producing their own video. To be honest with you, things like YouTube and Vimeo and some of these other video services are enough. First of all, a large chunk of the players we're recruiting have game film available on Hockey TV. Secondly, there's some of the other secondary video producers are do live stream of video of games as well, so we're able to access video that way. But really, like what kids advocating for themselves in terms of having their dad record a game and cutting up video and so that we could see what we're dealing with. That has come a long way. In a normal year, we send our coaches to camps and to development camps and prospect ID camps in the off season. That won't be happening this year. But we always have a network of scouts throughout North America who work with us and who we have developed trust with, that we can take what they say about a player, and through that information and the statistics and video, either sign to a playing card or invite to camp.
So we've got all these players potentially rolling out, coming in at the end of August here, I believe. We've got camp dates online. You can check them out at drydenicedogs.net, correct?
Correct.
And those dates are coming up at the end of August.
Sorry, the dates where our camp will open in October. The very
October,
first
sorry, okay.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
Perfect. Okay, so who's going to be showing up to camp? Are we all the invitees? You said a little bit less numbers this year, but is it more of a a camp so that you recognize potential players, or how is that going to work in terms of numbers and whatnot for you?
Well, it's still going to be a competitive camp where players will have the ability to earn a spot. Even if you have a situation where you have 23 signed players before camp, which is not the case, but if you did, it's still going to be competitive because guys are going to be there and they might be projected as a third line, fourth line depth guy, but they might not think so, and they're going to fight for a first line, second line spot. In this case, we're simply going from a massive camp where we're trying to pare down to 2 25-man teams for an inter-squad game on Sunday, to more of a model where we have a good chunk of our guys. We have an idea where they're going to stand, but still we have several players fighting for spots. And that will be the first weekend or so. But then after that, we're going to move into strictly practice and skill development as we move towards a regular season. That's
great. That's a perfect model. Lots of opportunity for players to crack a lineup for sure. Last year's roster, how many players are aging out and moving on from last year?
Well, there will be near 10 between age outs and move ons. Some trades have already been completed in the off season. Some players were moving on anyway to different teams, and then some aged out. So that's the thing about junior hockey, is that every year is almost a rebuild. So we try to keep the core together and try to keep a culture and what we're trying to accomplish passed on from year to year between that core. But it's a huge chunk of rebuild every year.
Your 5 top scorers this year, Mike, were all 2000-born players, averaging between 0.7 and almost a point per game. Hoping those players are able to return. If they can't, how do you look for better scoring or more scoring? Because you got to score to win games.
Yeah. So, in a team like we've got this year, so I expect a few of those guys to really, really develop into well over a point a game guys this year. But if we're competitive, if we're in a position to win a championship, you get to those December and January trade deadlines, and if scoring is something that you're lacking, then it's exactly what you're looking for at those deadlines. You're going over junior teams and trying to find guys who may or may not be facing a playoff run and might want to trace for a championship in the 20-year and are capable of putting pucks in the net. We can do that at those deadlines.
Perfect. Before the end of last season, it was you've played 55 games. You were a 500 team. How do we return the Dryden Ice Dogs to an SIJHL championship team?
Well, I think a good chunk of it is going to be buy into a game plan. If the difference between our championship teams and teams that haven't gone that deep has been strictly related to buy-in. For all the talent you can possibly get, if you get 23 guys pulling in the same direction, it's a lot more effective than 16 plus a couple of superstars who are going in different directions. So if we want to try and get that culture through to them in the early going and have that translate throughout the year.
Team buy-in is absolutely crucial, especially with the amount of turnover a junior program has year in and year out. We'll switch gears just a little bit. We're going to talk about one of your players that aged out and is moving on to Div 3 next year, Samson Muland, Anne Maria Amkatz. How important is that to have players not only move on to their next goal and to further their education, but also as a community perspective to see them flourish within a junior program like Dryden and see them move on to the next level?
Well, it's imperative. It's everything that we're trying to accomplish. We want our program to be seen as a place where you can develop and move to the next level. You know, the best case scenario being a kid plays here when he's 16, gets drafted in the Ontario Hockey League. When he plays here when he's 17, and gets drafted into the NHL. Right? But every stage of development between not moving and that is okay with us as long as kids are developing. You know, occasionally guys want to play their entire careers in Dryden. Some of the very best players we've had here have done that, and that's great for them too. But when kids do graduate out of here and they want to continue their game, we always have an opportunity for them. And that's a record I'm really proud of with our program here. Mulan is a guy who's a two-way guy, a forward and a defenseman who plays 200 feet of the ice. So his game translates well to the next level. I'm excited for him.
No, I look forward to seeing how well he does next year as well, if he's able to play in Division III NCAA hockey. We talked about the community. We talked about the incoming players, the outgoing players. What is special about the Ice Dogs that maybe somebody doesn't know much of?
Okay, well, I mean, like a big chunk of it, we go back to the community involvement. You know, it's a very passionate fan base here, and in my opinion, and I like it if it's the case, our arena is the toughest road game in our league. And that's something that I like too. You know, we have a long tradition here. We try to make it difficult to play against us, and that's something our fans come to expect, and our players, when they get here, they appreciate and like playing home games for Dryden.
It is a tough one. I've been there once. I lost. I'm not going to lie. It wasn't in the SI. I was a lot younger. Nonetheless, it's a very cool town. Lots of lakes, lots of fishing, lots of things to do in Dryden. Not too far from Kenora, which is good. I don't mind.
Yes.
Being in cabin country most of the summertime. When we're not playing hockey, a lot of hockey players know how to golf. And we got a memorial tournament coming up here at the end before the season starts, correct?
Yes, sir. Yeah, we have our Martin Anderson Memorial Tournament on September 11th. So that's an annual event that we have where it's one of our kickoff fundraisers for the season. Again, modified version of it based on the COVID restrictions, but we are moving forward with everything that we always do, whether it's the way it was in the past or a new version that's going to be like this year's golf tournament. But if people go over to our Facebook page, they can find a lot of information about how to register for that. And we're accepting teams right now, so get on over there.
Absolutely. Are you more of a golfer or more of a fisher, Mike?
You know what? I'm not going to claim to be either. I'll do both, but I won't claim to be either.
He will participate, ladies and gentlemen. Mike Sveinson, the team president of the Dryden Ice Dogs, looking to return as champions. They were removed a couple of years back, but it looks and it sounds like the team is mature, ready to move forward, get past that 500 winning percentage, and really make a strong push for the entire season.
Yes, exactly, sir. That's what we're hoping for.
Well, Mike, I really appreciate the time. Good luck with the season. As always, check out the Facebook page. It's just look up Dryden Ice Dogs, correct?
Yes, sir. Yep.
There it is, and you can find him on Twitter as well. Great to talk with you, Mike. I love hearing about how the SI is moving forward, having the dates, having the camps, and making sure we're following those guidelines. Just got to put those fans in the stands and make it all worthwhile.
Yeah, that's it. And thank you for your time, Theo. I really appreciate it. It's an awesome setup you got here. I love the format.
Right on. Mike Sveinson, the team president, the GM, not the GM anymore, right?
Yeah, no GM. Dryden GM Ice Dogs.
Right on.
Yeah.
Dryden Ice Dogs. We will be, again, looking for more teams from the SI upcoming. Thank Mike again on the ice. We'll hear from you next time. Make sure you check out Coffee with Graham Tuesdays and Thursdays, 10:30 in the morning. My show Tuesday, Thursday nights starting at 7. Thanks so much, everybody. Have a great rest of the day, and put those lures in the water. We still got a couple more months to go. Take care. Bye-bye.